Welcome, agents, to my very first PvP build in the Division 2. I haven't made a PvP build because I'm still getting used to just PvP in general, but I've had some pretty good success with this build. I'm not sure if I can fine tune it anymore, so I decided, okay, maybe it's time to post it. I guess you guys will let me know if I can fine tune this a little bit. But it's pretty awesome, especially because of status effects. Now, I made this build because I've noticed we've had a big uptick in status effect builds during conflict, in particular, playing PvP conflict. Status effects almost run wild. Sometimes I go up against that are running full 4-man status effect builds, completely deleting you the moment you even catch fire. So I needed to figure out a way to combat this. So here we have it. We actually took inspiration from our last build, or I could say this the next build took inspiration from this one. I think this video will get posted first. I have a few builds put together that I'm recording videos on. I haven't decided which one will come out first. I think it might be this one. So all you know is you'll see very similar hazard protection builds because of my backfire hazard protection build. But let's get into this one. So we are running the ninja bike. This gives us an extra slot on our branding gear sets, which comes in really clutch when we're trying to make this build because of our knee pads. We are actually rocking the Cavalier knee pads, and because of the ninja bike, we get the 2-piece gear set bonus, which is 30% hazard protection. Now, for attribute, we also have hazard, so we're getting 40% hazard protection on this piece alone. Pretty clutch, and it's pretty damn awesome. Now, for our next piece, we are actually using the Yao Gear gloves, very similar to our backfire hazard protection build. And here we get the brand set bonuses: 10% hazard protection, 5% weapon damage, 5% weapon damage, and then of course we have hazard protection attributes along with our critical hit chance attribute. We're not changing the core because blue cores, I've noticed in conflict, they just work. I guess maybe it could be a skill issue, but I need those blue cores when I'm rocking PvP. The last piece that's going to be a bit similar to my backfire build is right here, our Walker Harrison Co holster. We have hazard protection on our attribute along with critical hit damage. Of course, the red core because we had to switch out. I think it was like skill damage off of that attribute, or it was something random that just didn't work. So I put on my hazard protection on there. And of course, because of Ninja Bike, we get our brand set bonuses: weapon damage and damage to armor. Damage to armor is pretty clutch, where you have so many hazard protection attributes taking space from what could be damage. Having the damage to armor does work really well and kind of helps out a bit. Now, this is where things get very different. For the chest piece, we are using our 0F's named chest piece from the Badger Tough brand set. We do get 10% shotgun damage, which doesn't really apply to us because we're not running a shotgun, but we also get that 5% total armor, along with our core being total armor. Now, for the attributes themselves, we have a critical hit chance attribute along with a hazard protection attribute on there and a critical hit damage mod. If I didn't need that attribute, I could obviously if I didn't need the hazard protection attribute, I could obviously re-roll that to critical hit damage if I needed it, but I don't because I need the hazard protection, and this comes with that talent, Perfectly Unbreakable. When our armor is depleted, it repairs not 100%, but 55% of our armor. Remember, we have to consider PvP stats, which when I get into my actual stats, you'll know what I mean by that. But if you don't have PvP stats on, you'll see that this says repair 100%. In PvP, it will only repair 55%. Now, do you need to wear this chest piece? Probably not. You can probably wear a Grupo and get some more critical hit damage as long as you can get some hazard protection on there. And if it comes with Unbreakable already, I would use that. The only reason why I would heavily recommend Unbreakable is because it almost felt necessary. I've noticed almost everyone has Unbreakable on, so almost everyone has, I guess you can say, that extra armor when their armor is broken. So unless you're running a heavy damage build where you can just melt through their initial armor and the bonus armor or the repaired armor they get from Unbreakable, it almost feels kind of necessary lately, so I'm rocking this out. Now, same thing as my backfire, except I kind of swapped the mask and chest piece. So we are rocking the Cheska mask. Now, because of Ninja Bike, like I said, we get the double brand set bonus, which gives us some critical hit chance and of course some more hazard protection. That's why I went with it, because you need to hit over 100% hazard protection for PvP. I'll explain why in a moment. But for our attributes, we also have the same thing as our brand set bonuses: critical hit chance, hazard protection with our mod crit damage, and of course the red core. So this helps balance everything out when it comes to hazard protection and just having a healthy amount of crit damage. And then our weapons. I'm not using the backfire, even though this build did take inspiration from my hazard protection backfire build, because in PvP you don't have time to wait for those stacks to build. You need that initial upfront damage right away. So I'm using the St. Elmo's engine, high damage, high RPM, high magazine, and of course with that talent we get 50% shock ammo when we're hitting 100 stacks on our St. Elmo's engine. If you don't have this, I'd probably recommend something similar, that high damage, high RPM, high magazine like the F2000, maybe the FAMAS, or maybe even a shield splinter if you have one. Now, as for the secondary, I'm using the apartment. I like the apartment. It's a bit different compared to all the other SMGs. To be quite honest, I'm barely even using it, but when I do need to use it, it works out pretty well. The high rate of fire in the beginning comes in pretty clutch, and then the extra damage at the end of the mag is pretty awesome as well. Now, of course, for the sidearm, backup boomstick. It's never getting taken out. It's just there. That's pretty much it. As for the specialization, I would probably not use gunner. I have a bad habit of forgetting to change my specialization. Ideally, you would probably run maybe demolitioner, firewall, something that would help your team out a lot more. The attributes or talents for specializations, I don't think are too significant when you're playing conflict. It more so, I guess, I would more so focus on how I can benefit not just myself but my team. So I would definitely switch out the specialization, but yeah, I have that on because I just forget. Now we move on to our skills. I'm actually using the Jammer Pulse. The Jammer Pulse is mostly for my teammates. Hazard, I'm good. If anyone throws on a hive or anything like that, I'm only going to take the initial damage of the impact of the skill, but the status effects will mean nothing to me. But my teammates may not be running hazard, so that's where the Jammer Pulse comes in. If someone throws a hive on top of me and my team, I can hit this. That can quickly help my team so they can get out of it. I'll be okay, so I'm only really using it if my team is also caught in a status effect with me, or potentially could end up getting caught in one with me. But this is strictly for my team, not even for me. Now, for the other skill, I'm using the Defender Drone. This obviously comes in pretty clutch on getting some damage reduction, but this is where we get into PvP stats. You might see that my expertise on my Defender Drone is a 15. That does not matter. For conflict PvP, watch and expertise bonuses are gone. We do not get any of those bonuses. So I am not getting that 15% damage reduction. And as you can see with my weapons and some of my gear, I'm not getting that bonus armor on my chest piece and my bag. I'm not getting that increased weapon damage on my St. Elmo's engine. So none of that even matters. So that's where it gets tricky with our stats. When we look at our stats, and let's say for example we go to our critical hit damage, it tells us everything that contributes to building our critical hit damage. And as you can see at the bottom, we have Keener's Watch. That's not there. We are not getting that bonus. So we have to remove 10% from that. So we're technically at 46.3% crit chance. We're technically at 102.5% crit damage and 65% headshot damage. Now, that's where it became tricky with hazard protection. As you can see, we are at 110% hazard protection, but at the bottom, we have that hazard protection from Keener's Watch. So we have to remove 10%. So we are actually at 100% hazard protection, not 110%. This is where things got a little weird, something I had to get used to. I never realized that even though you toggle the stats, it might show for talent numbers and weapon numbers, like, and all that stuff, but it doesn't actually show PvP stats for the actual stat category. I'm assuming because these things still apply when you're doing Dark Zone PvP. It's only conflict that this doesn't apply. So make sure if you are running hazard protection in PvP, you at 110%, not 100%, because you will technically be at 90. Hope it makes sense. Hope it's understanding. Hope it makes sense, and I hope you kind of understand it. But that is going to do it. This is our hazard protection PvP build. I've enjoyed it. I honestly did really good in the gameplay, as you're going to see. I'm not that skilled of a PvP player. I need 1,000,000% more practice, 1,000,000% more just skill level increase. I'm not that crazy. Even though the gameplay, I did really well. It was really exciting. But let me know what you guys use for hazard protection. How do you guys deal with status effects when you're playing Conflict? And I'll just leave you all with the gameplay. Until the next one, see you.
Explosive seeker mine detected. Hostile explosive seeker mine detected. Rogue defender drone detected. Hostile defender Rogue Stinger Hive detected. Hostile Stinger Hive detected. Boost evacuated. Boost online. The enemy is acquiring a boost. The boost has been taken by the enemy.